Hey friends, it is almost Thanksgiving. That means it's time to do all this delicious cooking, and I thought I would share our favorite Thanksgiving recipes. These recipes in today's video are always on our Thanksgiving table, and y'all make sure you stay until the very end of this video. I'm going to be sharing our hands down favorite baked mac and cheese recipe. I've never shared it here on my channel, and trust me, you are going to want this recipe. It's actually not the one in my cookbook, not the one I've shared before, but it is the one my family is requesting me make this year. So whether you're looking for a specific recipe or you just want to cook along with me, let's get into these recipes, y'all. So first, to a skillet, we're going to start by melting 2 tablespoons of butter. Along with that, I'm adding 2 tablespoons of flour. Just going to whisk that around. I'm just going to let that flour cook for just a minute. All right, next to the pan, we're going to add 1 cup of sour cream. And then 1 small onion, about 1/4 of a cup. This one's probably a little bit more than that, but that's okay. We're just going to stir this around and let this cook for just a couple minutes on low. Next to the pan, I'm adding in 3 cans of French style green beans that I've already drained. Might have should have used a bigger pan, but we're going to make it work. Go ahead and turn this off, and we're just going to combine everything, the green beans with this sauce. And obviously this is a substitute for the traditional cream of mushroom soup that is in green bean casserole. And nothing wrong with the mushroom soup, but I do think this has a little bit more flavor. It's just really, really good. So maybe if you've never tried it, or maybe if you don't like green bean casserole with the cream of mushroom soup, maybe you can try it this way. All right, so I have my baking dish. I'm gonna bring over our green beans and get those into our dish. Now we're gonna top it with about 2 cups of cheddar cheese. So when you're ready to bake, all you'll do is add your crispy onions. I say just measure this part with your heart. And then this is gonna bake in the oven at 350 for about 30 minutes. Also, if your onions start to brown too much, just cover them with a piece of foil.
It's an early December morning, no one but we are. We look out the window as it's starting to snow, and I realize.
First things first, we're gonna cook a ham in the crock pot. Truth be told, I love a good ham for Thanksgiving, maybe even better than the turkey. This one just came from Walmart. It is the brown sugar glaze. They also have a honey flavor. I think we're actually gonna use this glaze that comes with it. It doesn't feel like a liquid in here. It just says it's brown sugar, fructose, molasses, maltodextrin, spices. Can't hurt anything. We're gonna throw this in here too. All right, y'all. Get our ham into our slow cooker. And any ham will work. You don't even have to get a flavored one. And really, these hams are fully cooked anyway, so all we're doing is just adding a little bit of flavor to it and warming it up. Next, I just have 1 can of pineapple slices. You want to use the one that's in 100% pineapple juice. And I'm just going to kind of hold the slices in there with my finger, but I'm going to pour over about half this can of pineapple juice. Next, I just have some brown sugar. You can really eyeball this part depending on how big your ham is. Of course, I'll have a recipe typed out below, but next we're just gonna sprinkle on some brown sugar. And like I said, I'm probably gonna use that little packet that it came with, because why not, right? All right, next, you can either use honey or pure maple syrup. Just don't use like a pancake syrup. Make sure it's the pure maple syrup if you're gonna do this, but I love using maple syrup in my holiday recipes especially. And we are just gonna pour some right on top. I'm gonna try to use my spoon to kind of rub it in with the brown sugar a little bit. And if it drips down on the sides, that's perfectly fine. It's just gonna kind of caramelize up in here when this ham cooks and give you those delicious little bits with that caramelization on it. That's my favorite part. Next, we're gonna take our pineapple rings that were in that can of pineapple, and we're just gonna place some all over top. depending on how your ham is shaped, they may not sit on top perfectly. You can just kind of put them around the sides as well. All right, this part is optional, but I'm gonna add a little cherry because it's the holidays. Let's make it a little bit festive to each one. And plus, thanks to my old-fashioned loving husband over here, we always have cherries on hand. Next, I have a little bit of pineapple juice left in here. So I think I'm just gonna kind of go around the edges, try not to knock off all of our little cherries and pineapples we just did. Okay. And then lastly, our leftover brown sugar. I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit more on top. All right, we're gonna see if my crock pot lid will go on with my ham. It's not sticking up too much, it may fit, but if not, I'm gonna show you a trick. All right, let's see if she'll fit. I think she might work. Okay, here's my trick if your lid doesn't fit. You're just gonna take 2 layers of tin foil, pop it around your crock pot top, and there you go, you can use that as a lid. It'll work perfectly fine. I think since mine barely fits, I'm gonna add 1 layer. All right, I'm gonna get that on there as tight as I can. Then I'm gonna place my lid on top. I'm just gonna cook mine on low. Let's go 5 hours and we'll check it from there. Alrighty, y'all, so our ham has been cooking and I'm pretty sure it's done. I just took a little peek a second ago. It is looking so good. And it is smelling delicious as well. Like I said, these hams are already cooked, but I mean, I can already tell it's gonna be tender. It is like already just falling off the bone that it's in. I'm gonna take it out of this broth and everything so we can kind of slice it up. I have a good feeling about it though. All right, I haven't even tried to completely slice it yet. You can already see this looks delicious, smells delicious, is super, super tender. This is so good. Y'all definitely need to make this for Thanksgiving. All right, we're giving it a try. As you can see, it is still steaming hot. But Darren just said he thinks it's the best spiral ham he's ever had. It is so good. You can really taste that pineapple juice in there, can't you?
You can. And the brown sugar.
It's just the right amount of sweetness. This is good, y'all.
Well, a lot of the spiral hams that you cook in like the oven and stuff like that can dry out.
Yeah.
But this is perfect.
Yes, all that liquid in there cooking along with it. So good. So for this recipe, you do want to start out by baking a pan of cornbread. Just use whatever recipe or brand is your favorite. I have my large skillet out here. I'm adding 4 tablespoons of butter. We're gonna let this melt and we're gonna saute our celery and onions in the butter. Our butter is melted, so now I'm adding in about 1 cup of chopped celery and then just 1 small onion. So I have my pan of cornbread already baked. So since I'm having this recipe, I'm just gonna crumble half of my cornbread into this large bowl here. And we'll just save the other half in case anybody just wants some plain cornbread. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and chop mine up since it's hot with my spatula. Next to the bowl, we're gonna add some crumbled and dried, just regular old bread. Any kind you have in your cabinet will work. So I just threw some bread in the oven while this was finishing baking. And now I'm just gonna crumble it all up into the bowl. Next to our bread mixture, we're gonna add some saltine crackers. The recipe calls for 1 sleeve, but I'm just gonna use about half. All right, we're just gonna go ahead and combine this really quick. And now I'm just bringing over those sauteed veggies, the celery and the onions. Put those right on top. All right, next we're gonna add some chicken stock. And we have about 3½ cups here. I'm just gonna add in about half of this, mix it, and then add some more. And also, I'm not sure where I heard this tip. I might have already told you guys this, I can't remember. But when making your southern cornbread dressing, you want the consistency to be that of like a creamy, wet oatmeal. If you can imagine how that is. So obviously this is gonna need a little bit more. See how it's a little bit crumbly. And we're also gonna add some eggs here in a minute, so that will help as well. And this is so good, y'all. I could seriously just have this for Thanksgiving and I would be happy. All right, I think we're just gonna go ahead and use all of this. All right, can y'all see this consistency? It really does have that of a creamy oatmeal. So I think that's a pretty good description. All right, now we're gonna add about 3 eggs. Next, we're just gonna add a sprinkle of black pepper, some salt, adding about a half a teaspoon of sage. Smells like Thanksgiving. And then about a half a tablespoon of poultry seasoning. All right, we're just gonna stir everything up. To save on dishes, I'm just gonna use that same pan that we baked the cornbread in. I just took that other half out. We're gonna get it into our baking dish. All right, and this is going into the oven at 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour until the middle and everything is completely set. So I may or may not have shared this recipe. I think I did, but it was in a vlog. So I had to include it because y'all, this is one of my all-time favorite Thanksgiving recipes. It is so easy. And if you've never tried homemade cranberry sauce, I'm here to show you just how easy it is. And it's only 4 ingredients. We have our cranberries, half a cup of water, 1.5 cups of sugar, because yes, it is sweet, and then just a few spices. I'm adding half a teaspoon of ground cinnamon, half a teaspoon of ground allspice, 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground ginger, and a little less than 1/8 of a teaspoon of ground clove. That clove comes through very strong. Your house is gonna smell like the holidays, but it's very strong. It's good though, but I want y'all to try it with just a little less than 1/8. I think that's the perfect amount. So now all we're gonna do is bring this up to a simmer, combine everything, and all of these little cranberries are gonna kind of burst open. It'll start to thicken up on its own. The cranberries will release their own liquid and juices, and it is so, so good. This is definitely one you can make ahead of time, especially if you like your cranberry sauce cold. You can even make it the day before, pop it in the fridge. That's what I do, and that's one less thing to do on Thanksgiving Day. And this is gonna come to a simmer and simmer for about 30 minutes until it's thickened. Next, we're gonna be making some cream corn. This stuff is so delicious, and I only make it for Thanksgiving around the holidays. We're gonna start with 1 12-ounce frozen bag of whole kernel corn. If I was making this for Thanksgiving, I might double this recipe, but it's just us here tonight. Next, we're gonna add half a tablespoon of sugar, half a cup of half and half. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of butter. Next, I'm just adding in half a block of cream cheese that I again just cubed that up. Lastly, I'm just gonna season with some salt and pepper. My corn is freezing my half and half, y'all. All right, and again, I'll probably come and stir this a couple times throughout, but this is just gonna cook on low for about 3 hours. Alrighty, y'all, so our cream corn has been cooking on low for about 3 hours. I'm just gonna give it a stir, and as you can see, it's definitely creamy. I don't know if y'all can tell the texture of it, and the creaminess is kind of thin, so I saw a little trick somebody did on TikTok, and I thought we would try it. This is totally optional. You do not have to do this. This recipe is delicious how it is on its own. I've had it many times. But if you have an immersion blender, you're gonna stick it down in your corn. And you're not gonna blend this, but just literally for a couple seconds. You're only gonna blend a tiny little bit of it, and that blended corn is gonna help thicken it right up, and the consistency will be more, you know, like you're used to, like a cream corn that you would just buy. I don't know if y'all could see, that was not sped up, that was real time. I maybe blended that for 5 seconds max. And I'm just gonna grab the camera really quick, pull y'all down so I can show you closer. And now you can see it is a perfect creamed corn consistency. That is exactly what we were going for. This turned out really good, and I love that tip. Awesome tip and super easy and delicious recipe. Next up, we have twice baked potato casserole, and you're going to start this with a 24-ounce container of refrigerated mashed potatoes from the grocery store. Bob Evans are really good if you've never tried them. We're going to pop those into a bowl. Next, we're going to add about a half a bag of shredded cheddar cheese, the Tillamook, again, so good. Also going to add half a cup of sour cream, a sprinkle of salt, pepper, and onion powder. Next, we're going to add about 4 strips of cooked and crumbled bacon. Next, we're just going to mix everything together. So next, once everything's mixed together, we're just going to place this into a baking dish, and we're going to top with the remainder of that cheese. It's just an 8-ounce bag of cheese. You can use any kind that you like. Now this is going to go into the oven for about 30 minutes. And all of these recipes will be linked or typed out in the description box below. Once your casserole is nice and bubbly, we're going to add 2 more strips of cooked bacon to the top. You could also add scallions or anything else you would add to a potato at this point. And I have to say, we all love this, especially my kids. This made for a super easy weeknight side dish. You could totally even use this for the holidays coming up. I'm going to show you the best squash casserole. Also, by the way, I'm having this recipe, but it made a ton, perfectly enough for our family, which is a family of 4. So to a large bowl here, I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. You're going to need 1 can of cream of chicken soup. To that, I'm also going to add 1 small diced onion. We're going to add 1 egg, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then about 4 ounces of shredded sharp cheddar cheese. We're going to mix that all together. Once everything is combined, you're just going to bring back over those squash, and you're just going to pour your cheese and egg mixture all over your squash, just kind of tossing that around a little bit, stirring around, make sure each squash has its own little portion of this delicious cheese sauce. Next, I'm just going to bring over my baking dish, give that a good spray with some cooking spray, and pour our squash and our cheese and all that goodness into the baking dish. Now we're going to make a quick little topping for the top, obviously, because you know that's what a topping is. But of course, a casserole would not be Jen style if it didn't have some buttery Ritz crackers or cornflakes on top. So that's what we're gonna do. You melt half a stick of butter, and then I'm using a half a tube of Ritz crackers, all crushed up. You just want to stir those together, get all the crackers nice and buttery, kind of sprinkle that on top, and this is gonna bake at 350 for the first 30 minutes covered with some aluminum foil, and then you'll uncover it and it'll bake an additional 20 or 30 minutes, and you want those crackers to get a nice golden brown on top. Y'all saw and heard how bubbly and delicious this gets. Y'all are gonna love this if you've never tried it. Of course, I'll have it linked down below for you or typed out. Okay, speaking of Pioneer Woman, we're actually gonna make her sweet potato casserole. She calls them soul sweet taters. I've been making them for a few years now, and you cannot beat this recipe. So I just bake my sweet potatoes in the oven until they get nice and soft. Makes them super easy just to pop out of the skin. Then you just add some sugar, some white sugar, some brown sugar, some milk, some egg, some vanilla, and you just mash this up. I just use one of my potato mashers just to mash everything together, make it nice and creamy. And then once you get that all mixed, you just set this bowl to the side, and we're gonna make this amazing, delicious kind of pecan streusel topping. So in a separate bowl, you're just gonna mash together some butter, flour, a little bit more brown sugar, and then I add in some pecans at the end. And I'm just kind of cutting this all up with a pastry cutter. If you don't have a pastry cutter, I just recommend cutting up the butter really small beforehand and then just kind of stirring it all up together. So once you have that done, you just pour your sweet potato mixture into your baking dish. You add that topping, and then you will bake that. And oh my goodness, this is so good. Once again, one of my favorite things about Thanksgiving. Alrighty friends, and last but definitely not least, this is the baked mac and cheese we are gonna make this year. I tried this a few months ago and I shared it on my TikTok and Instagram, but I haven't shared it here. So this recipe comes from Chef Teeny. You may be familiar if you are on TikTok and Instagram, but she starts by making a roux with lots of seasonings in there, and then you shred up about 5 cups of cheese. I'm gonna have the recipe linked down below for you, but I'm telling you, it is delicious. You pour the cheese sauce, the roux, all over your noodles, layer that with your freshly shredded cheese, and bake it up, and just look how golden brown the top comes out. Oh my goodness, like I said, my family has already requested me make this one this year, and I could not be more excited about it. So if you have not tried this recipe or any other ones in today's video, make sure you do that and let me know. Are you tried anything new this year for your Thanksgiving? Are you just sticking to your family favorites, your classics? I would love to know. And if you've made it this far in today's video, please leave me a little turkey emoji down there in the comments. Say hello. I would love to know that you stopped by today, and I really hope that you and your family have a wonderful holiday, a wonderful Thanksgiving together, and I will see y'all real soon again in my next video. Bye y'all.